We're running a bit late because you're all scoffing your faces, so we'll crack on. I don't know though, for some reason, I've got this urge just to stand here and say, good evening, welcome to the BBC Radio Suffolk Cricket Hour. But I don't know, that's just sort of come over me. But we've got some work to do here, so let me introduce our guest of honour tonight. I'm going to welcome a former England captain to Hadleigh Cricket Club tonight. We've had a few England captains here, but not one like this, trust me. This man made his debut for England in 1982. He played 79 tests, 122 one-day internationals. He scored over 8,000 runs, including 1,500s. And for those of you from my generation, which probably is this side of the room, you'll remember his incredible last over exploits against Bruce Reid in Australia in 1987. If you're not from my generation, this half of the room, when you go home tonight, search it up on YouTube, all right? Have a look, it was brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a Hadleigh Cricket Club welcome to an England cricket legend, Mr. Allan Lamb. Can't get the staff, he's forgot to put the battery in the mic. Did he? Yeah, did you put it in? There you go. See? Toading the whole roadshow. That's what I used to have to put up with, see? Good evening, Allan. Welcome to Hadleigh Cricket Club. Thank you for coming here tonight. It's an absolute honour. Can I ask you first up tonight?
Firstly, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's fantastic to be here. I spent the afternoon down at the nursing home with Wavy, and what a fantastic setup. Your staff were absolutely brilliant, and I am so pleased that I think he'll sponsor the cricket club for the next 2 years. I've had a word with him.
Top work, Allan. Thank you. Thank you. Tell you what, let's start then with the latest Ashes series. Finished 2-2. You were a former Ashes winner twice. What did you make of this current series then, Allan? Did you think 2-2 was a fair result?
Well, if they'd taken Smith out and probably Archer and Stokes, it probably would have been a close series, wouldn't it? It may have not gone 3 days. I mean, I just think that what has happened now with all the one-day cricket going around, the modern game of batting sort of 3 hours or 4 hours a day just doesn't happen because the one-day cricket is taken out. We could see the way the players played. I think for a spectator's point of view, I think it was exciting. There were wickets, there were runs, but for someone who loves Test cricket would have said there was appalling batting and some great bowling, which I think Australia probably had the better attack, but we were lucky that we managed to get another import from Barbados. As you can see, these elocution lessons have been helping under the last 40 years I've been living here. You know, he is seriously quick and makes a big difference to the England team.
You were a bit of a madman, weren't you? Because you got 14 Test hundreds, 6 of them against the West Indies, and I was having a look at their attack at the time. Ambrose, Walsh, Marshall. Did you really like fast bowling that much?
No, I didn't. I think I was mad. But the best way to play, I've got to tell you, the best way to play quick bowling is be at the other side of the wicket, I promise you. Make sure you have singles and you leave it to someone else, I tell you. But, you know, I think the big thing is that there are more people being hit on the head now than when we played without helmets on. And that's due to the fact that people watch the ball. People don't watch the ball anymore because they know they've got protection. And soon as they see a bouncer, they take their eye off the ball. And I think that's why so many people are getting hit. And, you know, there's a technique of playing, but, you know, 96 miles, Archer was getting up to 94. That was sort of all the West Indies were bowling at that speed, you know, so you couldn't hide anywhere. But you made sure when you played against the West Indies, if they did bowl you a short ball or a wide ball, you try to score. You can't just occupy the crease because, let me tell you, one of those balls has got your name on. So you make sure that you alternate the strike and score runs, getting runs all the time.
And did those fellas, the Ambroses, the Marshalls, the Roberts, the Walshes, did they have to sledge you, Allan, or did they just know at 90 mile an hour that was enough?
No, they they didn't have to sledge. I mean, I asked Joel Garner once, what happens when you try bowl a Yorker at me? He says, Man, you want to know? I said, yeah, just tell me when you bowl a Yorker, what do you aim at? He says, I aim at your head. I said, thank you. I mean, so, that is a sort of a... with the sledging, I think sledging to me was sort of part of the game. It was just to unnerve someone, but not really get into someone, really to about their family. And I think some of the sledging's been badly. People used to say which were the sides that you really... Well, the West Indies, we never had a problem with them. We were never at the wicket that long. And then we went over to Pakistan and India. Well, we couldn't understand what they were saying, so it made no difference. But then we went to Australia, and I think the Australians were the best sledgers. And my first test match was against Lilly and Thompson and Chappell and Border and Marsh and all those guys. And we decided that, listen, what we're going to do is play the Australian way, the convict way, is that basically if you nick the ball, you don't walk, you wait for the umpire to give you out. Because we were playing against 13 Australian players because there weren't neutral umpires in those days. So we had 2 Aussie umpires on their side. So anyway, we decided. We had 2 exciting opening batsmen. We had Chris Tavares, and the other one was Foxy Fowler. He got named Faxy Fowler because he divorced his wife by fax. And then we had the flamboyant David Gower coming at 3. And then I came in at 4, and I think Foxy got out fairly early. David went in, played magnificent, got a 70 odd, and got out just after lunch. And I walked out to bat, and I got all this booing and that, and I thought, why the hell are they booing me? First test, probably coming from South Africa, they didn't like the Aussies. And anyway, no, they were booing Chris Tavares, and Chris Tavares was 13 not out, so he'd really been setting the light, So anyway, I took guard, and I looked around the field, and all of a sudden, this voice at the back, Marsh said, "You got any family, mate?" And I turned around, I said, "Yes." He said, "You won't be seeing them again." Well, to me, that made me a little bit sort of nervous, and I looked up, and there was Dennis Lilly, standing back about 70 yards, waiting to come in. You remember he used to have that yellow sweatband? And sort of, I said, he wore it to keep his wig on, so it didn't go down too well with him. And Dennis used to have a brilliant follow-through where he just ran right up next to you and, and he'd flick his sweat at you and tasted of rum and coke he'd been drinking the night before. And eventually I was playing and missing and making a real ass of myself, and playing and missing. And anyway, Dennis came down, said, "Mate, do me a favor." I said, "What's your problem?" He said, "Hold the bat and I'll aim at it." Not in those words, I can tell you that. Well, you got nothing to say, didn't you? So anyway, I took guard again, carried on playing. Eventually I nicked one. It was so loud and it was so blatant. I think most of the slip cordon were pulling, splinters out of their body. But I did walk down the wicket and tap down the divot mark where the ball had pitched. And looked up at the umpire. He said, "Not out." I said, "Great decision, sir." And I walked back to the wicket, took guard, and I was surrounded by 11 Australians giving me absolutely heaps. Eventually, I got out, and I was walking off, and I had Rod Marsh next to me. I thought, what the hell is he doing? Anyway, I'm walking off the field. I said, "Rod, what are you doing?" He said, "Mate, I'm walking you off the field, and in case you come back, you cheating pommy bastard," he said.
That's a compliment, calling you a pommy.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
Very much.
Was Dennis Lilly the best bowler you ever faced?
Listen, I got Dennis and Jeff Thompson towards the end. Dennis was a magnificent bowler. Probably didn't have the pace of the West Indies, but probably one of the greatest bowlers. But I think probably the best bowler I played against was Malcolm Marshall, all round, yeah. really, really fantastic bowler.
Because he could do everything, couldn't he? He could swing it both ways, quick, just
and
the whole package.
Yeah. And I think he hit a lot of people because he was quite deceptive. He wasn't very tall. He skidded the ball on. And that's why I think he hit so many people.
Yeah. Going back to Australia, how dangerous was it touring Australia when you were rooming with Ian Botham?
Oh, my God. You've got to get into the room first, otherwise you just got locked down.
Because you had that privilege, didn't you?
Oh,
You had to
God.
room with him. Yeah.
No one wanted to room with Ian Botham, let me tell you. But I did. What happened one night, we sort of had our normal pre-dinner before the test match starts. And normally you would sit down and you discuss what the opposition about, and if there's a film, they'll show it, whatever. Not one of our pre-season dinners did we ever discuss the opponents. We had Gower and Botham selecting the best wine we could find and drinking it the night before the test match. So I said to him, listen, it's a big day tomorrow. We're playing at Melbourne. For God's sake, get to bed early. I'm going now. Anyway, at about 1 o'clock, he staggered in, fell all over the place, ended up trying to half on his bed, fell off, and I just left him on the floor. And we woke up in the morning, and we set off to the ground at Melbourne. Now, you've got to realize there's like 85,000 people coming to Melbourne. It's a massive stadium. And thank God for the Oakley sunglasses, because we got those on so the management couldn't see our eyes. So that was a great protector. We arrived in the dressing room. Ian Botham went straight down to the physio's table to say he had a sore groin. Well, I can tell you that. There was no chance he had any groin problems that night. And anyway, Gucci was captain and took us out for the normal run around the whole of Melbourne, the field. And we eventually lost the toss, and we had it bat. I was batting 4 and eventually got in. And Botham was sort of batting, I think, 6 or 7, and never appeared. We'd lost a couple more wickets, and eventually he came in about number 8. And he had this really love-hate feeling with the Australians. And the steps going down at Melbourne, there's sort of 50-odd steps before you get to the park. And Botham walked down with his floppy hat on, onto the field, and he started walking out. And the Aussies are shouting at him, and he's swinging his bat. He all of a sudden starts dragging his right leg like this. And I tell you what, 85,000 convicts went absolutely ballistic. They went absolutely mad. And I'm standing in the middle of the wicket, and you've got all the Aussies there, and they see this, both of them, and they start giving it. I think, oh, what's he done? He then stops another 10 yards, puts the bat up, and starts banging his wrists at the crowd again. And now that doesn't go down too well either. Anyway, he arrives at the wicket. I've got to go and have a word with him, because first of all, he wouldn't know who's bowling. He wouldn't know what the score was. He wouldn't know what the wicket was doing, nothing. And I looked at him, his eyes were red, he stunk of garlic. And I looked at him, I said, Beefy, this is hell out here, man. I said, Lily is really bowling well, and Tomo is bowling sharp, okay? He looked at me, he said, bugger all that, Lammy. He said, have you seen all the crumpet in the crowd, he said. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he went on to get 85 runs. I don't know, we wouldn't even remember how he got it, and he got 5 wickets, we won the bloody game. So don't try it, don't try it.
Do you think that's what's lacking in Test match cricket nowadays? They need to bring the rest day back? Because you guys loved the rest day, didn't you?
Well, all the wineries
so
loved
for
us having us there.
these guys over here wouldn't understand. They used to have a rest day on Sunday, wasn't it?
So we used to play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then because of, everyone was quite religious, later people used to go to church on a Sunday, and that's why they didn't play. I mean, that was the true story. And then eventually that all went, and
ruined it, really, didn't it?
Really ruined it. We used to have a Barbie on a Sunday, go do everything. And then we had to come back and play on a Monday, Tuesday. But now they took that away, which is frightening. Very sad news.
What about going back to this current Test match series? How does Cummins Hazelwood start compare with Ambrose, Walsh and Marshall then, Allan? What you've seen, would they have compared well with those?
I think they're all fine bowlers, brilliant bowlers. I think I couldn't believe what Payne was doing in the last Test match. First of all, sticking England into bat, right? And doing that with Langer. Langer had told him, and he was going to bat first, the Australians. And what had happened, Payne went up to toss up, and he bumped into Smith and Warner. And Warner and Smith said to him, no, you've got to bowl here. It's a bit green. Anyway, he tossed up, won the toss, and put England in. So it was amazing. He listened to Smith and Warner. So Langer was absolutely furious because they'd left Patterson and Stark out. And if they were going to be batting first, then you would have played them. So they got that all wrong. But I think if you take that attack, they're going to be a fearful attack. I don't think they bowled as quick as the West Indies, but they're there and out. They're great bowlers, and they'll be a force to be reckoned.
What about T20 cricket? Because you would have been bloody good at that. Very good. Bruce Reid, 17 off the last over. With fielders on the boundary. Do you think you missed out a bit here?
Well, it's very difficult to talk about the past and what we could have done, really. So, to me, I'm not a massive fan of 2020 cricket because I think anyone can play 2020 cricket. You don't know. You take Roy, for example. Roy, I was speaking, he hasn't been technically coached about playing a full defensive. Never. And he bats for England, or opened the batting in Test match cricket. So he is a one-day player, and this is what the problem is.
We've got a player like that, Dave Levitt, never coached for defensive. Can you have a word afterwards? Yeah? That's right, isn't it? Dave, never coached for defensive, have you? See, look.
Dave, I think you better go and play with Roy. I think you go and open the batting for England. I think that'll be a good one.
But seriously, though, you would have enjoyed T20, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I probably would have.
You would.
Because I think when we played one-day cricket, we always used to leave it to the last 20 overs. And used to say if it was 6 or 8 and over, that was our target. As long as we could get it at sort of, around about 8 under 10, then we had a chance. So looking at that, it was probably a bit like 2020 cricket.
Allan, we've got time for one more question. I took a couple of questions from the guys in the audience. Simon Gladwell, where are you, Simon? I'll bring the mic so you can ask Allan the last question of the evening, all right? Allan, what do you think of the shirt? Look at the shirt. Look at that.
I don't know if he's been mixing a gin and tonic with a lot of raspberries in there or something. But
last question of the night, so Allan, make it a good one, Simon.
Okay. So, Allan, my 99-year-old grandmother is looking for a care home to move into Hadleigh. Could you recommend one to me?
Well, I could recommend to you, yes. Are you going? When?
No, my 99-year-old
No, don't worry about your mother. I think you'll probably be heading there. I'd recommend, where's Kingsley? There we are. Kingsley, you can't have a better nursing home. I was up there this afternoon, and their staff were brilliant. They looked after all the clients and the patients and everything there. But there is a room. Do you think he could go on a wait list? Yeah. Put him on a wait list.
Book 2, Simon. Book 2. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had the privilege tonight of having Mr. Allan Lamb at Hadleigh Cricket Club. Please show your appreciation for Allan Lamb.
Thank you.